Sublime magnificence.
Hey guys, you know who it is, what's going on, when it's happening, where it's happening, why we're here today. How you doing? It is I, the sublimely magnificent, big ugly himself, Omari Ellis Feo Grande on YouTube, back with another episode of This Guy Hasn't Seen and another wrestling special. And as usual, I am joined by my co-host and roommate, one of my best friends in the world, El Director himself, Bill Smith.
Maury, it's a pleasure to be here. Always a good time to be talking about things we watch with a good friend. This week is a special one because we only do this every so often. Omari and I are both wrestling fans, and we like to watch wrestling. But our views of wrestling are from two different times. So we're gonna pull up some old school from Bill Smith. And then we're gonna watch some of the new bloods from AEW. Omari, how do you feel about that, brother?
My force, spirit, warrior, coming through. And today, we're gonna watch some matches, and we're gonna enjoy them.
It's all the time. I'm looking forward to it, man. It was, yeah. So we're gonna start with a match that you brought in. It was Hogan versus Warrior, WrestleMania 6.
You see, Omari, when the Bill was just a little Hulkster, his dad used to put on wrestling on Saturday mornings. And Bill only watched Hulk Hogan. His main reason for watching wrestling, his original memories in life, brother, were watching the Hulkster. And then this behemoth comes into WWF and dominates the universe. They make cartoons of the Warrior. They announce that the fans of the Warrior are the little warriors. And you know, Bill Smith went from a Hulkster to a little warrior, brother.
Kind of hard not to, man.
This feud, Omari, was literally one of the original memories I have of life.
Okay.
Was sitting in my father's apartment every other Saturday watching wrestling with him. And then we watched this WrestleMania. Because he was a wrestling fan up until kind of the end of the peak of Hulkamania.
Okay.
Like I have memories of him being disappointed that I went to Warrior and was no longer a Hulkamaniac.
But it's very hard not to, man. The fucking Warrior. So yeah, I missed.
Did you watch any of the WrestleMania around the match?
I watched the promo as well as the other little thing you suggested, which I'll touch on in a moment. But yeah, my earliest wrestling things, for those who hadn't seen the two previous episodes we did, is beginning / middle of Rockamania, not Rockamania, but you know what I'm saying. For lack of a
Attitude
better phrase,
Era,
definitely
almost at the end of Monday Night Wars.
Yeah, pretty much. It was
like
around
not
the
even
time,
like early NWO and stuff, like later into that era.
Yeah. It was definitely later 90s. around the time that Stone the moment with the Mick Foley, you know, butts in the seats. Everybody
Oh,
talks
okay,
about
yeah.
it these days. Around that timing. I
Okay.
think around the time Owen Hart passed. I
So
want to
yeah,
say
so
that was one of the first or
that's
second.
already after like about a year of battling back and forth, and then the classic 83 weeks in a row of WCW winning the ratings wars. So yeah, I didn't realize that you were that late into the Attitude Era. I always
Yeah.
thought it was more like the birth of Stone Cold kind of
I,
section, or even prior.
I've been historianized for a lot of the birth of Stone Cold, but like speaking of the birth of Stone Cold, we covered Brett versus Stone Cold on this,
Right. Yeah, you hadn't
and
watched that. Yeah,
really
that's
done
true.
that. So, but Warrior, Hulk, Macho Man, I had heard of these characters when I was a kid. Had no idea what they were involved in, what a pro
Hmm.
wrestling was. People would talk about Diamond Dallas Page. Speaking of your WCW in third grade, people talk about the Diamond Cutter. I'm thinking it's a superhero or something. He just has a move where he bang and people blow up or some shit. I don't know. They're just
Yeah.
going Diamond Cutter, bang, and I'm what?
Hmm.
Cool. So I wish I could have seen some of these things. I love it whenever I see these old promos, your Macho Mans, your Hogans, your Warriors. I want to say this is the first full match of the Warriors I've ever seen. I have heard a lot of things about
I
him
mean, in the grand scheme
reputation
of things, he
wise.
doesn't have a ton of matches. He came into the company, they strapped the rocket ship onto him, and then he, as well documented, a lot of personal demons, as well as
Yeah.
constantly trying to hold the company up for another paycheck. Oh, you paid me a main event bonus. Oh, you want me to go out? Okay, 10 minutes before we're wrestling. All right, I want another $100,000, or I'm not going out there. Like those kind of games is what's documented. So he didn't end up lasting long. And there's also the ever-present presence of Hulk Hogan in backstage,
Yep.
who was apparently in Vince's ear from the jump of like, he ain't ready, brother. Nope, this ain't gonna work. He ain't ready, brother. He ain't ready. But reportedly, Ultimate Warrior only gave fuel for that fire, so didn't help his cause any. But yeah, he was only here for like a short time. Um, it's funny because like this is one I should have showed way earlier, because there have been so many times when we're talking wrestling where you're almost confused towards me when I'll tell you in the same breath that I'm a big meaty men slapping meats guy, but also my favorite wrestlers are Shawn Michaels and Bret Hart. And you'll be like, but Bill, and then like I showed like Stone Cold versus Bret Hart,
Something
uh
super like
yeah, and when I say that I'm a big man slapping meat kind of guy at my heart, it is this is what it is. This is age 4 to maybe 8. I mean, when you look at this WrestleMania card, it has to be competing with the heaviest wrestling card of all time. He Every guy, like the smallest dude here is Mr. Perfect, who isn't a tiny dude. like
no, he really
uh
isn't.
and like people forget how like big Ted DiBiase was, and like he's not a small dude by any means. Brutus the Barber Beefcake
Beefcake.
is a beefcake. Not to mention you got Andre the Giant, Earthquake, the Demolition Team. These
No,
are
like, yeah,
giant fucking
it's
dudes.
the foundation of your wrestling fandom is big motherfuckers fighting each other.
Yeah.
Regardless of their character, they're all fucking big.
Yeah, and it's a lot of just like running into each other, chest collide, and then they like stare off. Ugh. Yeah, that's my original birth of wrestling knowledge.
No, I can see that.
What were you expecting coming into
Uh,
this?
so Warrior and Hogan. have reputations about them. Both our matches involve people who have pretty well established reputations of what you're gonna get in their matches.
Fair. Yeah, that's true.
Hogan and Warrior, regardless of the not virility.
Have we straight up said it? Yeah, it's Hogan Warrior main event WrestleMania 6, title for title. Ultimate Warrior is the Intercontinental Champion, and of course Hulk Hogan is the Winged Eagle WWF Heavyweight Champion.
Yes.
Sorry to interrupt there. I just don't know if we formally had said that.
Yeah. So Hogan and Warrior are both known as guys who larger than life personalities, not necessarily the most ring, technical side, but who cares? It's Hogan Warrior. Yeah. So I wasn't expecting a lot of
aura.
Exactly. Aura for aura. So I was kind of expecting that. I didn't know who would be the face or heel in this. It turned out to be a face v face kind of scenario.
Mm-hmm. Maybe Hogan working a little heel.
Yeah, exactly.
With like with like these things and that kind of stuff. But yeah, it's pretty balanced.
Yeah, when I watched the promos before, because I was trying to see, what's the story going into the match? Because wrestling's about stories, even if it is just two big motherfuckers running into each other. Why are they mad at each other? I want to know. Who do I root for? But Warrior's just like, I've come not to hurt people, but to combine the fandoms. I'm like, oh, they're going face v face. He's just like, this isn't our mutual Hogan. I hold no animosity. This motherfucker, by the way, that promo, the whole time, muscles just flexed. Just veins, maximum flex. Like I tried to do the joke thing earlier, but I had to like crack after a while because it's just hard to keep everything taut while yelling as loud as you can and then move with the fucking your own body resisting you. You know what I mean? Like, oh yeah. But nonetheless, I love the promo segment from both of them. I was just expecting, I don't know, not a lot of skill, just cool. I'm not going to say not a lot of skill because I do respect their skill. And I know I've heard people like Hogan and that get similar reputations to him have gone on record like, well, if you see, and people, like I said, people similar to him are like, if you check out their earlier footage, they were doing a lot of stuff and then they realized, I don't have to. If I do these things, cool, the crowd will like it. I extend my career. I stay on top. Y'all may think I can't do stuff, but I can.
That's the usual route of when you get to your like mid 30s and you're still wrestling, which is when we're seeing these guys in our lifetime. And now the age bar, because of just modern medicine and training knowledge and all of that, is probably more in your mid 40s, like a Randy Orton. Randy Orton is going out there and he knows what he's going to be able to do, and he minimizes it to a degree, and because he knows he can do XYZ and get the same gigantic
He's got the ring psychology by that point to put stuff together and make a story despite not having a lot of big moments. So I wasn't expecting a lot of big moments when it came to like moves, because these guys are supposedly have limited move sets. Wasn't expecting a lot of selling, and I wasn't expecting it to be a long match because I heard that these motherfuckers get gashed really quick, according to reputation. And then seeing how Warrior lived his life, I can see him getting gassed really easily. Motherfuckers just all the time. That said, I like the promos and stuff. The promo you showed me, the fucking Hakeem and Slickster.
Yeah, shortly after the Hogan Warrior promos around the middle of WrestleMania, Because I scanned through the entire 3.5 hour event, just kind of watched a little bit of everything. And when that came up, I had to send it to you. I mean, it is a legendary promo for all the wrong reasons.
Fucking Akeem. I'm like, what is he doing?
Zero rhythm. Like, that is a man with negative rhythm. That is a man with negative rhythm that you were seeing there, who has been told to dance.
It's supposedly from Africa
I
or
mean,
some shit.
he's a big giant white
A
man
big white man named
who
Akeem from
who
Africa.
has a wrestling onesie with the continent of Africa on the back of his onesie. Um
It's
yeah,
hilarious.
and he wears like traditional African garb outside of the ring.
Well, he's got this 70s ass
And his
jive
manager is a pimp.
manager.
Like, I think that's the
We're gonna
character.
go and do this because we need
This is
money.
1990. This is
Money.
1990. Unfortunately, we are in the WWF, and Vince McMahon is Vince McMahon. Um, yeah,
But I
this
was just
is
like, wow, this is a thing.
when that
But
came up, I was like,
but
dude,
Akeem
22, 15, please.
Okay. Whatever he was like, I understand he has no rhythm, but I'm still not trying to get what he was going. It's not like music was playing. He's just throwing his arm out there. Probably listen to the man talk. I'm like, I can't even focus on what this black dude is saying with his super stereotypical like character because what are you doing? But
What
yeah,
are you doing?
But yeah, we get to the main event. We get to the match itself. The entrances, the pops. First, the Warrior pop, which was loud. You couldn't hear either of their musics that well. You could hear Hogan's a little bit like louder because they probably played it louder too. Also, his when you got words to your songs and specific guitar riffs, it's gonna hit the ear better amongst the crowd. That said, the pop when Hogan came out. Dun, dun, you want to talk aura? Oh, all right. I like it. We should. You sure?
It just came up again. I had to put it on. Fucking Akeem. Sorry.
it,
I had to see it again after we talked about it. Yes, Hogan, Warriors coming out, Hogan's entrance. Yeah, a Warrior is well known for just being 100% gassed after his entrances. It's so hilarious.
during their little aura standoff before the match, you just literally see Hogan like, "This is the crowd." You know what you normally see. There's when you got the vet versus the up and comer. And
Uh-huh.
like this is what these kind of moments are. And as you see Hogan, you see like over his shoulder, you see Warrior, and Warrior just he's like breathing hard already, and the match hasn't even started yet. Like Jesus, no wonder this man gets gassed. I'm surprised he can have matches. Like it's not that he's not athletic. He's definitely got more energy than people give him credit for because he's still going. He's got those reserves. But yeah, match. I saw my boy Earl Hebner. Awesome.
Yeah. I wanted to shout out Earl have like a young but somehow still old Earl Hebner. Um
Aging over
uh
the years affects
a
people so differently nowadays.
a Gorilla Monsoon, Jesse the Body Ventura commentary team. I love this commentary team. Like, Gorilla Monsoon is probably my favorite commentator of all time. And either of his combinations, whether it be Jesse the Body or Bobby the Brain Heenan, is my childhood.
I agree. No, well, I don't agree that he's my childhood
No,
because I
yeah.
don't know him, but I appreciate that. I'm like that with like Jr. Jr. is my favorite commentator just because all my earliest memories.
Right.
Anyway, match starts. You get the fucking test of strength, and it's pretty much what I thought it was gonna be early on. Just I'm big, so am I. Here's my spot. Here's my spot, mother. It's the same spot. I'm as big as you are. But you know, it's what you expect from these kind of personalities at this time. What I didn't expect is how much selling would actually be done in the match at all. Like Hogan early on falls out the ring, has that knee thing, and he's like, "Brother, it's blown. It's blown, brother. I can't do it. You can't do it. You gotta do it. No, I've gotta stay in the match. I gotta stay in the match." And then eventually gets the adrenaline back to start hulking and stuff. But yeah, there's a lot of various power up moments and stuff. I love one of the early like slams by Warrior or Hogan. One of them Gorilla or one of them. I'm not gonna say which one it is because it's hard for me to tell. I'm gonna be honest. But he's like, he should have hooked the leg. He should have hooked the leg. I think that was Jesse.
Jesse, yeah, that's
Yeah,
Jesse.
he's like, he should have hooked the leg.
If he would have hooked the leg, monsoon.
This would have been
Yeah.
over. I'm like, yeah, okay, but I like the little excuses for why one of them hasn't won or will win, just little stuff like that. Because they're both trying to look strong, but they
Yeah.
both know somebody's got to win the match.
Mhm.
A lot of rest holds too. A lot of just
lot of rest spots.
We're gonna sit here.
I mean, that's what this era kind of was. Yeah. Spot, rest spot kind of thing. Yeah, like rest spot, plan out a 5-move set to rest spot, and then we'll meet up again and talk.
Yeah, that's around when you just see some of those times you see like Hogan.
Yeah. The biggest action move in this match from a modern wrestling perspective is crisscross rope running. That's it. That's about it.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's body slams, a couple of suplexes, punches, headlocks.
Again, to the whole Warrior Gas argument thing. The man, you might as well, like, his moveset is limited, sure, but one of said moves is just running back and forth on the ropes. Like, he does that so much throughout the match. And I'm like, no wonder this dude is gas like this. This is like a 20-minute match, too. It's a long ass match.
His character is like a gorilla, is like like he's a simpleton. And like there's many spots in his career where the character of Ultimate Warrior is conflicted or frustrated in the middle of the ring, sometimes completely alone, and he'll just huff and start running the ropes. It's like, I gotta get this out. I gotta get this energy out. It's yeah, his whole character is designed for him to be exhausted 100% of the time. And it's 1990, so these dudes aren't doing cardio. They're burning cigarettes and pumping dumbbells.
Pretty much. But yeah, so we eventually get to the fucking bear hug moment, speaking of rest holds, where they do the arm drop. 1, 2. If that drops a third time, this match is over. The finger wag.
Yeah.
And then, of course, referee gets taken out. Which
referee down spot.
Which leads to both of them having moments where they think they should have won because they counted 3. And yeah, that's the thing. It's a lot of trading stuff. You do this, I'm gonna do the same thing. And they're like trading this stuff back and forth. And then eventually, we get to the gorilla press that they've been talking about the whole match because Warrior threatens with that gorilla press the whole time. That's one of his taunts, and it's part of his finisher. He finally gets it. Boom. Tries to do the little bounce. 1, 2. Hogan kicks out. We get it. The fucking Hulkamania getting up, hulking out, you, blah, 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 boot. And we get the fucking missed the leg drop into the splash. 1, 2, 3, and Hogan. I had seen this clip with someone probably complaining about Hogan in the past, where it's 1, 2, 3, and the second that 3 hits, Hogan kicks out anyway, and then he gets up mad and stuff rather than like selling that he lost to the finisher. It's like, hey, you beat me, you just barely beat me, brother, type shit, which
Yeah, classic
Hogan's
Hogan.
known for. But I'm like, oh, that's a very Hogan thing to do. But still, I did not expect him to get in the ring. I didn't expect Warrior to win the match because I hear a lot about Hogan. But with this being around 90, NWO's coming.
Oh, you didn't know Warrior was winning?
No.
This was the attempt. Like, this was Vince McMahon wanting to pass the torch.
Unlike
Thinking that it's the beginning of the end of Hulkamania. Hulkster, you had your run through the 80s. It's the 90s now. We're gonna give it to this big freak.
Yeah.
and yeah, this was the idea of it.
I will say, unlike Sean Razor, which was also a belt for belt moment that led to one person like pretty much oh my goodness, upsetting the other, winning.
Yeah.
Unlike that match, I felt like Warrior had a better chance of winning this match. I just didn't remember whether or not I knew him and Hogan both got mad at WWE and left eventually. I just didn't remember who did, what moment, if you will. Like, if this is what made Hogan start getting mad, or if this is what made Warrior start getting mad, pretty much. So I knew Warrior had a chance, but I was still like, oh, so this is that moment where Hogan wins and you see the belt, and then I'm like, okay, much like Razor holding up his 2 belts, I'm like, okay, Warrior with the pyro. I've seen this little shot before, like a picture of it or a clip. All right. But yeah, no, I like the finish. And overall, I respect the storytelling in the match. Like, it's a very simple. Oh my goodness, what the hell? Something in this coffee, maybe. But it's a very simple style, but it very effective at what it's trying to do.
Right.
Like, you can clearly tell the crowd is very invested in each moment. It's same type versus same power type versus same power type. It's, I know I sell until I don't and I power up and win, versus I sell until I don't and I power up and win, but I sell a lot less because I'm younger. That's what it is. So it was cool. It was a nice little match in and of that, and it helped start the legacy of the Warrior, however short-lived it was. Because for how short of a time he was there, so many people to this day are like, yeah, Warrior, that's my shit.
Yeah, I mean, he was captivating. He's an animal. I was just checking while you were talking, because I was like, has Hulk Hogan ever won the Intercontinental Championship? And I don't believe he has.
Wow.
There are a couple of times of rumors of house shows where he beat the Honky Tonk Man. And there's like a single picture of him in the ring holding up the Intercontinental Championship, but it doesn't look like
he actually won the Intercontinental Championship.
Yeah.
Huh. Well, I mean, Taker never won it.
Skip right to the main event, man.
Pretty much. I skipped right to the main event and stayed there. Even when you did go back, it was for some other mid-card title brief run before right back to the main.
But yeah, so I enjoy this, but I also have nostalgia attached to it. It's I can recognize that I can recognize the complaint compared to modern wrestling that this is boring. But I don't know if it's super valid.
That's the word I was looking for earlier.
Like, there are things going on constantly, and there's intrigue to be had, even in the rest moments, because of the crowd and the aura, the vibe of it all, the Hogan Rock WrestleMania of it all
Mm.
kind of thing. Um,
Yeah,
I
no. Like you said, I can understand the complaint, but I enjoyed the match because I get it. Because there is that story element to it. There is that aura in the arena. It's like, are these guys slowing down? Yes, but you also have to look at the bigger picture, the story being told here. These are two dudes who are used to running into motherfuckers that go down when they push, and neither of them is going down, and they're both surprising the other with how strong they actually are compared to one another. You know, like Hogan's like, oh shit, he beat me with the test of strength. And meanwhile, Warrior's like, oh god, haha, I beat you with that. Oh well, I thought I was cool because I pushed him into the fucking turnbuckle at the start, and he just did the same exact thing to me. All right, well, I'm gonna hit you with one of these. Fuck you, brother. Oh god, shit. Hulkamania power up. Warrior gets his power up shit too. Like they both just. But yeah, when you look at the grand scheme and the stuff that they say, they're not known for being technical with their moves, but I can't say they're not good wrestlers because they're technical enough with the storytelling to still get you that same sense of satisfaction as a fan in the moment that the technical people would. Like you watch a technical masterpiece, oh, with the spots and the doobie doos, it's like, damn, that match was great. Remember this, that, and the other, and you remember the moments in their spots. But with Hogan Warrior, you're like remembering the moments from the story that happened. Hogan, when he you could see him crying as he like did it, oh, but he kicked out just afterwards. Hogan still do it. If you're a Hogan fan after that, you're like, you lucky bastard. Especially because this is pre the mass kayfabe curtain being pulled up. So really, the Hulkamaniacs that are like, that son of he just barely beat him. Hogan will get his ass next time. So you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
he caught him off guard. If the referee hadn't been knocked down, boy, we'd be telling a different story. So there's that. So that's
Yeah.
why, yeah, there's that aspect to it that people don't take into account when they look at older wrestling. At least I'm not gonna say people like modern day fans because some people argue to this day they're still the modern, regardless of older new wrestling fans. You got story versus you got technical versus spectacle, and yeah. Speaking of which, we're gonna go from that to our modern day match, where we got a different side of the coin that's also an extreme version of the different side of the coin. But it's also wrestler versus wrestler, same type wrestler match going on. It's Darby Allin versus Jeff Hardy, no disqualifications, Owen Hart tournament dynamite match. That's a lot. Dynamite's a TV show, by the way, not involved in the match. The one match that they had with an exploding ring in AEW didn't really end well. Yeah. If you're gonna have an explosive barbed wire match, make sure it explodes. But anyway, Darby Allin versus Jeff Hardy. Jeff Hardy versus a guy who's clearly inspired by Jeff Hardy. So what were you expected going into this match?
Well, at first I thought you might be pranking me because of the things we've discussed about my thoughts with AEW.
Oh,
And I was like, okay, well this sounds like the exact recipe of the things that I've talked to Omari about that
yeah, I realized
I may not love
someone
in
during the
wrestling
match.
anymore.
Yeah,
Is this a prank? Is this somehow
it
going to be
wasn't.
like a you expect these two to go super extreme, but actually it's a pretty good technical wrestling match inside the ring for the majority of it. And then they do a couple of high spots.
I wasn't what I was doing. It was you're getting exactly what you expect. I had forgotten that you said like it was during the match, and we'll get to it as well as with specific moments, but it was during it that I was like, man, there's a lot of what Bill said he doesn't necessarily like about things. Same time, I think it's a good time. And we can still talk
No, I
about
mean, yeah, it's so what I'm going into the pre watching the video. Um I am building I'm actively building interest in AEW, trying to get into it. It's a little bit more difficult for me. I've been open about that. Some of the wrestling style is not necessarily something that I am looking for when I go to watch wrestling. Some things that I feel like I'm looking for when I go to watch wrestling tend to lean a little bit more WWE. And then also I'm just more of like there's a lot of things that AEW isn't helping itself with for me as a fandom as where just as far as like an easy to access library. WWF has a bank of 40 plus years now, plus all of the old territory tapes that they own. And I mean, those might be have been accumulated via shady practices, but that doesn't mean I don't want to watch them. And so there's just so much available history and world building on the other side of the coin that it has been a challenge for me to get into. But I am getting there. I am watching the content, um and speculating on stories, and they have me at times. And there are things that I enjoy, like the character, the vibes, the aura I get from a Darby Allin. The Dolph Ziggler esque can make a motherfucker look good. Can make a motherfucker's finisher look good. Energy from him is all really cool. Um I like I like the clear love of wrestling and wanting to put the best, wanting to give the fans a big show and a good moment and something to go home with. I love that about Darby Allin. But I think as I get older, I don't I don't love the putting my body on the line on a nightly basis, literally. And then I also don't really like somebody who's not that safe of a worker for the person they're in there with. And uh uh I have not heard anything on the negative from Darby Allin directly, but I can see with my eyeballs. Like there is no other way to do a coffin drop than Darby Allin's full body weight landing on the opponent's either chest or stomach. Um
sometimes he lands where
he can go butt first, but a
yeah
lot of
the
them that I
ass.
see, he's
Okay,
full. Like I have seen butt hit mat first, but a lot of them that I see, the opponent is taking a full brunt of it. Um, his missile dive to the outside although amazing and faster than almost anybody does it, that's because he is driving his shoulder in that kind of speed into his opponent. I just there are examples to where I just
I
wish
gotcha.
AEW would work a little safer.
Yeah.
And I know people get hurt, and people get hurt on the other company too.
The other company's got a lot of injuries right now.
Yes, and that's just going to happen with athletic performances. Um, but it just feels like sometimes there's the safety of the performers is not what's in mind. And I get the idea of putting the fans first, but I'm just not of that mindset. I cringe at those moments. So I was a little scared about going into that. But I love the idea of Darby Allin. Like, uh, um, he can still be an incredibly great wrestler and not do a chair coffin spot every year or going through the glass spot once a year. Like,
Or the fucking coffin drop into a coffin. Because that's happened. That's happened too.
I mean, and that might be one of his safest ones.
Well, I mean, the coffin was closed.
Right. Well, I know, but like, that's just that means it just gets to
Gotcha.
be breakaway and soften the landing a little bit. If he hadn't have landed perfectly in the coffin, it would have been one of the worst things ever seen. But he landed in the coffin, and that ended up being one of the probably one of his softer landings, I would guess. Um, uh, but otherwise, because it is a weird dichotomy, because I come from like I have 3 segments, honestly almost 4 segments of my wrestling fandom. What we just watched, and then that era turning into the new generation era, turning into the attitude era. And then I'm stopping watching. But I was a consistent watcher pretty much all the way through the morphing from big guys to Bret Hart into attitude through Monday Night Wars, watching the NWO rise and the Goldberg rise and Stone Cold, The Rock, them basically leaving. Shawn Michaels is gone at this point. Um, and then I think I'm out for a while. Come back for a brief while during the Ruthless Aggression from Directive of You. Watch a little bit, dip my toes in, never fully in.
Yeah.
Then finally back in with this modern era. So I was a huge fan and enjoyed the Attitude Era stuff where there was a lot of that hardcore shit. I was a big hardcore match guy. We did them all the
Mm-hmm.
time in video games. I
Yeah.
loved Mick Foley. It's just seeing Mick Foley now as an adult is
There's a heightened level of
is
catharsis.
hard to watch.
There's a heightened level of catharsis that comes with aging, where, oh, that pain, I'm familiar with it. Oh boy, ow. Like shit. People who have seen this channel or even this show have seen me numerous times try to be my animated self, or just keep being my animated self, and it hurt me because I'm getting older. And so yeah, and back pains happen. Thank you, 2020. But back pains happen now. And so sometimes seeing particularly painful back related spots is gonna affect me a lot more than it did when I was younger. You know what I mean? Just like, oh. So I get it, because like you said, there is a level of it, and I also wish AEW would work safer. At the same time, it's working for them, so I get it. And if the wrestlers, just like I felt with the football and all the safety concerns with that, if you still want to do it, knowing the dangers at this point, more power to you. I can't. It's
Yeah.
on you. You're an adult. You made this decision. You
No, yeah. Obviously, that's But that doesn't mean that I have to.
Watch it, yeah, or enjoy what
Right.
happens.
Or
And
I
I
don't
get
know.
that.
So and I understand that you are a reasonable individual that I can have this conversation with. But sometimes it is pretty frustrating that I'm not able to have this conversation with a good chunk of AEW fandom.
Hmm.
I am not able to have this because I'm immediately called a WWE shill or a Fed, like a Fed effer.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. It is ridiculous that I can't just have a subjective criticism while always painting it with the brush of positivity. I'm always trying to be in these conversations because I know how they're going to respond, frankly.
To, to be fair,
And so I
that's
always
modern
try and
day.
go positive, a positive sandwich
That
of with a little bit of negative slice in there.
I will say though, that's just kind of how modern day society is. Because
True.
I'll see the vice versa happening from Federation fans to AEW fans that have criticisms of it, and it's like, guys, why can't we watch both? Or I'll see people who in one post will because I still use Twitter every once in a while. I don't really post as much as I should, but I
Mm-hmm.
do read a lot of posts. And I'm I guess because I don't post enough, I see a lot of things from both sides on a lot of topics throughout my things. But when it comes to like wrestling, I'll see people be like, "Man, I just wish these stupid WWE people would listen when we say, so and so, without them just trying to immediately talk about AEW and put it down. Why can't y'all do this?" And then I'll see WWE people like, "These AEW fans, I can't say nothing about a match." And it's like, but then you'll see a post by somebody else, and one of those people who's complaining about the other side attacks that other post, and it's like, you said you don't want this, but you're just like, these stupid WWE fans only want so and so. It's right there. You're not helping. And
Mm-hmm.
so and like I said, that's society these days. If you don't agree with me 100%, you're the fucking enemy. Fuck you. Die. I'm like, what? No, calm down. I I want to. I want to see. There's this thing people used to come to called an understanding. Might be a bit too big a word for people in the modern day society with all the microplastics. I can't. I wanted to come up with some weird conspiracy, but no. But anyway, AEW match: Darby Allin, Jeff Hardy. Um, we got JR. Speaking of which, on commentary for the match.
Mm-hmm.
I
Where
see
where do Hardy Boys lie for you? Like in the classic Hardy Boy, Dudley Boy, Edge and Christian, where were you always?
when I was a kid, I was Hardy. I was Team Hardy's because
Okay, yeah.
Jeff jumped off of things.
Yeah, I think I was always Team Hardy. Never really got into any of their singles stuff. I know
Same.
they've done a lot of single stuff, particularly outside of WWE, and Jeff had a pretty good run in the Ruthless Aggression era with like John Cena and some other
Yeah.
folks.
Taker,
Um
legendary ladder match there.
but yeah, I've never been big in their singles stuff, but I was always a big Hardy Boys fan.
Yeah, I would. Yeah, Hardy's was the team. Yeah, because they also had Lita, and I had a crush on her when I was younger. So
Lita's great.
yeah, the Hardys came with Lita. I liked the Hardys. I like the Dudleys because they push people, they slam people through tables, and tables are the most over thing in wrestling. There's nothing. Your Hulk Hogan's, your Warriors, they ain't shit. The table, somebody going through a table. No one ever goes, damn, there were too many tables in that match.
One
I'm
of the
not.
worst things in wrestling. One of the worst things in wrestling. Far, far worse than a what chant is a we want tables. I hate that chant so much. It is so disrespectful to what's going on in front of you.
I can agree.
There is a show being put on in front of you, and you are saying, "We want this. Do this now." It's so fucking annoying.
And they're not even satisfied these days, Bill. There was one match where it's like, we want tables, we want tables. The motherfuckers pull out
one more
table.
time.
They were like, well, not even one more time. It was, we want fire. It was like, oh my God. No, it was an AEW show. I forget which.
Well, of course it was.
Luckily, the wrestlers didn't set the table on fire, or set another table on fire just to satiate the crowd. But I'm with you on that when it comes to the chant. When it comes to the table spot itself, I still want the tables. But if they're not going to put it in the match,
a table spot happens, I'm fine with that.
But yeah, if they're not going to put it in the match, they don't put it in the match. I'm not going to be like, ah. Now I say that, but if I'm at the show and the chant starts, I don't know if I can stop myself. You're in the crowd at the moment.
I am not chanting "We want tables."
I'd like to believe I wouldn't, but wrestling crowd is wrestling crowd. It is what it is. You know what I mean? It's
the chant happens in WWE as well. Almost every other Raw, you're going to get a "We want tables," and it is.
What? Calm down, people. This is a fucking Raw. You don't need tables on Raw.
Oh, yeah.
Not every other Raw.
It rarely happens. Okay. Sometimes it happens, and sometimes the wrestlers just have to push through it because it's not a tables night. Like, get over it.
Yeah. I don't like the entitledness of the "We want tables" chant. But I still think it is that the table is the most over thing in wrestling. Just because,
like, there is actively a coffin worth of chairs set up that are going to be used at some point. That either Jeff Hardy or Darby Allin are going to go through those fucking chairs, and it's going to be ridiculous. And yet you say "We want tables."
Jeff Hardy, of all people, pulls out a ladder. You know that Jeff Hardy, of all people, is going to use that ladder. And yet you're still chanting "We want tables." This ain't the Dudleys.
It is the worst chant in wrestling. In my opinion.
Fair. I don't know about the worst for me, but I will definitely rank it low. I'd have to think hard. Anyway, yeah, the match starts. It's the exact opposite pacing wise of the other match. Like I said, it's the extreme other side of the coin, but it's still vet versus up and comer in a match, with some semi stakes on the line, and they both same power set versus same power set. I'm gonna flip off of shit and hurt myself versus I'm gonna flip off of shit and hurt myself and go. I've seen a clip somewhere of Taz going, "Who let this match happen?" talking about this particular match. I thought that I had Mandela affected my mind to thinking that was Taz doing commentary during the match. Taz is nowhere involved in the match. It's JR, Excalibur, Shivani. But yeah, match starts. Darby. The move list that Bill mentioned, the fucking missile dive out the ring, the everything, just right off the bat, go, go, go. Also, for a no disqualification match, we have Sting and Matt Hardy here, neither of which will do anything in this no disqualification match.
I don't want to be too negative about this. So far, I've just said a lot of negatives in AEW.
I know, I feel
but their presence is a little awkward. That's undeniable. They're kind of in the way in several moments in the first half of this match. They're just kind of in the way. But no, that opening sequence from Darby looks awesome. I cannot deny that. That is very cool looking. And if I were to hear a opponent of Darby's in a kayfabe walled down interview talk about, no, actually Darby is one of the safest dudes out there. He has a magic. Like I've heard people say that about Osprey, where like a lot of Osprey's stuff looks incredibly violent and aggressive towards his opponent, but he's actually got like a baby's touch. I love that. I love those things. Like that people say that about Bret Hart. And it looks like Bret Hart is like laying into somebody's head with a punch. And they'll say that it's like a feather's touch. Same with Undertaker. If you're not getting a receipt from him. If somebody were to say that about Darby Allin, then I retract all my previous statements about his safety beyond
his safety to himself,
beyond his super high spots.
Mm-hmm.
His moment to moment work is incredible and incredible looking, and he sells incredibly well. Like I said earlier, of like that kind of like Dolph style of just like, I'm gonna make your finisher look so fucking good.
Yeah.
Thing. I love that about him. And yeah, it looks fucking awesome. But yeah, this spot coming up with the chairs is insane. It is insane, Omari.
Yes.
He is a flip of the coin from breaking his spine. He literally gets hung up on like he is so.
Yeah,
if a doctor was watching this, they could tell us like how literally close this man could have been to like shattering his spine. Yeah. The impact that he could have come down on one of those vertical pieces of chair.
But to talk about safe workers, Jeff does do some catching to soften it. And I do think so. There are some,
but he's all they're also Darby comes off a little off angle, so he doesn't get to catch him a lot.
I guess my thing is when you do those spots, you also have a little faith in the person coming down. And to your point, he is a flip of the coin, but I think he trusted Jeff to keep him from actually dying, or becoming paralyzed. And though he comes off angle and Jeff can't catch him as cleanly, Jeff being the vet he is, the little bit of difference he does make. Darby's still walking today on his broken foot after getting hit by a bus when trying to climb fucking Mount Everest. He's a weird dude, Darby Allin. And I say that in the most respectful way I can, but he's a weird dude. That said, yeah, the spot we're talking about is a swanton off a fucking super ladder from the inside of the ring to the outside of the ring, where it's a lineup of chairs. Mm-hmm. That they show a replay of like 8 fucking times throughout the match because it's ridiculous. And yeah, Darby lands and does a arc match thing on like one of the things.
I was able to. So this is a continual momentum. Jeff Hardy, and I don't know if this would end up arriving on the finished product if we're just if Omari and I are just seeing it, but you can see that Jeff gets his hands under there, but that's a full grown man falling from 25 feet in the air. Jeff Hardy is not that strong, and no human man is that strong to just catch somebody purely with their arms like that.
Well, catch and guide, not straight up catch, because at that point I'm expecting like a fucking powerhouse Hobbs or somebody that would just.
If he's catching and guiding, he's catching and guiding directly into.
Well, like you said,
the worst possible option.
Like I said, he came off angle. I think what Jeff was able to do was enough to stop him from fucking just straight up dying. That's all I'm saying. I didn't say Jeff like did the most safe catch. I'm saying he was able to save him from complete disaster. It's like there's been other moves in the past where people have come off weird, and then someone just barely does like a slight push in the air so they can land and not die, but
Yeah.
they fucked up their thing. And I'm saying that's
No,
probably
yeah.
what that is. Because I am with you. That is a crazy spot to do, especially for what it was. Like Jeff, it's not even like Jeff was laying on the chairs and he landed like, no, Jeff was like halfway on the chair to begin with.
Yeah.
So it's like, I don't know if you should be doing this. And then the motherfucker's like, that's not enough. Let me do a coffin drop onto the apron where Jeff moves out of the way. And now, speaking of being unsafe to yourself and the damage to your spine and all of this stuff, Fighter Fest 2019, the first Fighter Fest before AEW like fully blew up, there was a match, Cody Rhodes versus Darby Allin. I got to see Darby Allin do one of these coffin drop onto the apron and hurt his own spine things from like the third or fourth row. I didn't understand it then that this guy just does this, and I'm like, why is he going for that? And then they're like, oh, that's his finisher, just his fucking trust fall. What? His finisher is a trust fall? That's not good at all. People can move out the way and do all kinds of stuff. But I've also always been a fan of those self-sacrificial wrestlers. So I ended up gravitating toward him. I'm still a Darby Allin fan. Yes, we're talking about his safety and stuff, but if you listen close enough, like we said, we're also listening to positives with the negatives. And at the end of the day, I recommended the damn match. Get off my back.
No, Mari, they're gonna be on mine.
The bottom line is, yeah, he does that. And then not to be outdone, much like our Hogan versus Warrior match. This is same power set versus same power set. Although instead of I'm stronger than you, it's I can hurt myself too. Because Jeff decides to do a fucking swanton from the inside from the top rope to the ring steps where Darby moves out the way. And Jeff takes that. Now, luckily, the steps Jeff takes it in a way where he can at least kind of land on the feet after and then fall over. So he probably minimized the damage to his back. Again, veteran versus up and
The way the
comer.
steps are designed, it gives a little.
Yeah.
It bends a little.
But still.
But it's still like, yeah. I mean, slightly less potential crisis mode than Darby's spot.
But can still go horribly wrong.
5 degrees off on his rotation, and his spine is going into the corner of those steps rather than the flat top of those steps.
And there was a period in AEW, it was probably a couple months long or something, where Jeff wasn't quite getting his swanton rotation like he used to, because speaking of fully grown men, Jeff is in his like 40s or so now. And
long hard road that
he's been
that body has traveled to.
He was Darby Allin before Darby Allin. And he ain't stopping, because that whole TLC crew, they got screws loose. They don't know how to stop doing this shit. Regardless of retirement inducing surgeries, they still come back and do the stupid shit.
Seems like the Reverend Devon Dudley is has been out for a while and not really coming back, except for like, an indie guest. But I walk in the ring and punch a guy.
But if he did, I almost guarantee you, depending on the size of the match or whatever match he's back for, if that's on a pay-per-view, he's doing something stupid. It's just what now the Dudleys were the least stupid of the 3 tag teams.
Funny, because considering they were an ECW birth.
Oh yeah. Also, yeah, but they were about inflicting stuff on other people. Hardys were about inflicting shit on themselves, and if you get hurt too, cool. And Edge and Christian were kind of in the middle.
Yeah.
That's pretty much how that spectrum goes. But the Dudleys aren't immune to doing stupid shit like the other 2. But they will probably, instead of being a high spot, it'll be some fucking dangerous ass weapon spot. Oh,
Yeah, I just like in I would take the argument side of things that you don't always need to take it up a notch.
you don't.
You know, in the TLC era, that would have been a coffin drop onto Jeff Hardy, who was standing up. Or what did Darby do? Did he do a coffin drop or did he do a moonsault?
What,
Or
off the ladder?
yeah,
That was a swanton.
the swanton. That's what I meant. Yeah, sorry. Yeah. For that could have been a swanton to Hardy from the ladder, who was just standing in the outside of the ring, and a much more standard, like you said, catch and guide scenario. That's only just a little bit riskier, but a lot more impactful than a dive to the outside from the ring. You're diving from the top of a ladder. That's crazy. And then in the TLC era, that would have been Jeff doing his finisher to Darby, who's just down on the outside on the crash pad, on the outside of the ring.
No, I gotta disagree.
It
It would have been onto something, but it wouldn't have been chairs. It would have been tables.
it probably would have been a table
Because a bit
that
of
breaks
more
away and
breaks away, more surface area, two tables like side by side or some shit like that. Because I've seen Jeff do that shit.
yeah. No, yeah, that
So,
totally would have been what it yeah.
yeah, that would have been Jeff doing it through a table. I think that actually happened during one of the fucking TLC matches. In all
It's
honesty,
okay to do that again.
yeah, you don't have
It's you're
to.
now doing it with Darby Allin instead
Yeah,
of a Dudley boy. Like it's totally fine.
the ring has exploded from a big man superplexing another big man 3 times. It's been the same spot. And 2 of those 3 times involved fucking Big Show, of course. But it was like, yeah, you can have the spot again and it be, oh my God, that shit's crazy because it's like years apart. This is like 20 years later.
Yeah.
And Darby
We
Allin being
just
Darby Allin, you expect
we
this.
just in IRL, we just had somebody repeat the Mark Henry fake retirement spot. And half of the internet, half of the wrestling audience didn't even understand the
Remember it.
reference. They thought it was just a brand new creative idea. Like
That's it. Yeah, that's when I say I'm worried about the safety and stuff, like you as well. But even since year one of AEW, where I was fuck WWE, I don't even really watch that shit no more. This is AEW time, the wave of the future. WWE is fucking up with this Roman shit. I was wrong. Whatever. Bottom line is, I have been on the extreme side of the AEW versus WWE coin, pro AEW in the past. But even at my most extreme faith in AEW, I would state I'm worried about them always trying to escalate what they did the match before because they're building themselves on high risk, high damage spots, and they keep trying to one up themselves. And eventually it's going to lead to catastrophe, is how I felt. So I understand your sentiment about that. That said, I'm gonna keep watching because high spots are popular for a
I'm gonna
reason.
keep watching because I like wrestling and I still like the characters involved, and there's a lot of things to keep me coming back. It's just that there's just a few things that are just a little different.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, another thing that I watch wrestling from, that I've explained to my wife before. I don't know if I've encapsulated in words here, but I consider myself a very empathic person. I tend to have emotion quick and ready on my sleeve, and I tend to feel like at least I can read emotion, feel emotion it affects me. Like I can feel when a coworker comes in and is doing the I've had a bad day and everybody's going to suffer for it. Like I'm gonna make everybody else have a bad day because I'm having a bad day kind of attitude. I feel like I absorb that a little extra hard. Um, Same with positive energy. And that's one of the things I love about sports and wrestling is it is absolutely an empathy bomb for me. Knowing the ins and outs of wrestling and knowing the real life of a person who has been training their whole lives and gets to walk out of a Titantron to their entertainment name being yelled through a microphone and everybody either cheering or booing or responding to them. um and again, this is just me being honest. And AEW fans that I talk to don't like these statements of why I have a harder time. I also don't really watch NXT because the empathy bomb of 300 people is not the same. The empathy bomb of 1,000 people is not the same as the empathy bomb of consistently 14 to 20,000 people on WWE shows. And that's what I've known so far in my almost full
We
year
watched
of
a
calendar.
WrestleMania match and a Dynamite match.
I know, I'm just talking about in general. This is just in general. In my calendar year of wrestling, AEW fans cannot deny that you have had one of the worst attendance years in the 5 years of the company's history. And it just feels different. And it's just another one of those things that just adds to me being like, and simultaneously WWE isn't in an attendance boom. These are just the things that happened while I've been consuming wrestling. I didn't get to be here when AEW was almost beating Raw on some nights of the week, where Raw was a garbage product and Dynamite was consistently the best show on television. And I haven't I wasn't able to be there for that. And so the aura bombs and the empathy bombs and these things that I refer to, I struggle to find them on AEW. And I struggle to find them a little bit in this match. I mean, things other than the high spots and the cheer from that, it's there are moments in this match that feel a little flat for it being the main event. It is a TV show, like you said, compared to WrestleMania. There's big differences there.
Yeah.
Um,
And I guess
but
that's on me for suggesting this match, but we can talk more off screen for why that happened.
oh no, that's
Yeah.
I'm just it was less about these two matches in particular and more about
Mm-hmm.
why I tend to gravitate towards one over the other. Like it doesn't I don't feel like AEW fandom wants to support me in that endeavor of watching wrestling. They want to shout, "We want tables."
Fair.
You know,
Yeah.
and sometimes they want to boo the good guy and cheer the bad guy. It's those are the in my year of experience with trying, those are the times that I get a little bit of a roadblock.
Gotcha. Yeah, what was it? Yeah. Well, from a storytelling aspect, at least, I forget everything going in there because I think the main story involving the Hardys at that time was them versus the Elite, which as it came on afterwards, Adam Cole gonna fight Jeff Hardy
Bye
next
bye.
week. Yeah, baby. Um, yeah. So And Darby Allin was his name's opponent in the tournament. Just they fighting because they're fighting. So, but to your point of like what you've wanted Walter to go through at King of the Ring in that
Who?
tournament, whatever. Well, Gunther, Walter, what you wanted him to go through in that tournament, where it's the up and comer that just gets sit in your place, boy, by the veteran. That happens at the end of this match. Darby lands his coffin drop. He lands it butt first. This is one of the ones where he does land butt first.
I would disagree with that statement. This is one of the reasons why I developed that opinion.
Really?
It feels like he goes full impact into Jeff Hardy's chest.
Fair enough.
And yeah, well, again, maybe that's subjective. And
yeah, fair enough. But he does land the coffin drop, and then Jeff gets the roll up on him with just the haha, you let your guard down, 1, 2, 3. But much like the Hogan Warrior handshake, like, hey, respect for you for this match, brother. This is your torch. It was a respect after the match, like, hey, you lost today, but you got, you're definitely coming. Here's my respect. I'm gonna see you down the line. Similar, not the exact same, to what Taker did for him in that latter match they had when Jeff was trying to establish his thing. Where Taker after the match just went in the ring, was just like holding up his hand, like, nah, there's something about you. You crazy. You know what I mean? Like, I won today, but you'll have your chance, boy. And moves on to his Adam Cole stuff. So I think that's part of why a lot of the story moments weren't there, because Darby was an obstacle in Jeff's overall story at that time. He wasn't the focus of Jeff's story. As opposed to, I know it doesn't matter if this is a WrestleMania match, but it is the other match we watched today, where that was months of build up. Is Hulkamania getting dethroned by Warrior Spirit. It had more build-up coming into it because it was the sole focus of the story. And you get those aura bombs from the massive fandoms as opposed to Darby Allin versus... And it's not like Warrior is clearly a Hogan-inspired person. He's just another crazy personality at that time. As opposed to this motherfucker wants to be Jeff Hardy in his own way. He wants to be Darby Allin too. Trust me. But he clearly was inspired by him. Face paint, the same fucking spots, the same willingness to just die in the ring at that young age. And, but he's also gone on his thing saying he's here for a good time, not a long time. So he's probably not even trying to get to Jeff Hardy status, where it's 40 years old and still doing it. He's just trying to get his Jeff Hardy phase out at a young age and then probably go into whatever he wants to do next in life. But he's also, I think he's had some relations with like the jackass people. Like he's acquaintances with them and shit, and skateboarders and all that. So he got some screws loose anyway. He's part of he hangs with the jackass crew. You talk self-sacrifice. But yeah, that said, I did like that they did that with the match. The Jeff beating him, to your point of like how you felt Randy should have beat what's his name at King of the Ring, which was also a tournament. So I did like that happened here, because especially with it being with the type of character Darby is, it doesn't hurt Darby's character for that to happen.
No, that's true. That's true.
Yeah. Especially what he was at the time. But yeah, as far as overall views on the two matches versus each other, I think they were two extreme sides of the coin, like I said, where you have same power type versus same power type, vet versus up and comer, different sides getting the rub out of that, and different takes on how you can do that match of slow pace, lots of rest moments, which we said we can see why some people would find that boring, but here's the we can see why some people wouldn't like this, but here's why it's good. You know, it has its storytelling moments, the strong aura bombs, strong empathy bombs, blah, 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 versus the extreme action, fast pace, self sacrifice. Story be damned. We're enjoying ourselves. There's some story, not story be damned, but that ain't the focus because this is high octane match. The positives and negatives of both, but still watchable overall for me on both sides. So I enjoyed both matches. Obviously, I think the Warrior Hogan match was better overall because of the impact it had on wrestling that you could tell at the time was going to be an impactful moment on wrestling compared to Dynamite main event. But yeah, I think I said it. I like both matches. Yes, that's my final thoughts on those two.
Yeah, I've
We've kind of
I've said all I can say before I full on get murdered.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll be fine. I was gonna be like, yeah, me too, but we're talking in circles. If you want to see us talk about other stuff, check out other videos on the channel. Did we ever discuss what we're doing next? No, right?
Nope, it's a
Be
surprise.
surprised. With the same brainwave. Be surprised when it happens. We'll see you next week with that. You can catch our other videos on this channel. You know, we have new episodes every Wednesday. We have this is season 3. We have 2 whole seasons worth already to watch. And when I say season, I mean a calendar year, like 52 episodes. Also on this channel, we have a show on Saturdays called You Don't Watch Sports. 2 guys talking about 3 topics, help you sprinkle a little information into your casual sports conversation. We're your guiding light to see that's casual sports talk. You can also find me on Wednesdays on this channel, as well as another channel with the Whatever We Want podcast that I do with a good friend of mine, a good friend of the show, Super Jazz. He and I talk about just that, whatever we want. Yeah, the previous 3 seasons are all on the channel Whatever We Want podcast on YouTube. Channel season 4 right now is being simulcast on both. You can I also have a Twitter and Twitch, Giotavi, Giotavi. Come on in, stop on by. No, you got anything you want to say to the folks? I just realized that you were doing. You're muted.
Yeah, my dogs were yelling over at the other side of the house.
Gotcha.
We've got another show coming out, a little dropping every now and then called Mock Draft. Keep your eye on that. We're gonna look at Mondays for Mock Draft Mondays, so keep an eye on that. Just a fun little show where we draft things all across the spectrum of the universe.
Indeed, indeed. Well, everybody, thank you guys so much for watching. Catch you next week with our surprise episode. Adiosness.